Yep. Good evening and welcome to Sunday Live. My name is Emma and I am your host this evening. As always, this is a platform for us to share our experience, share our lessons learnt, and hopefully a little bit of wisdom with you who have graced us with your presence this evening, who have joined us online. Now, we don't profess to know everything or to always get it right, but we're just going to share our life's experience with you. So if you want to join our conversation this evening, you can share your thoughts, ask us some questions. Then you can get in touch either through the live chat on YouTube, or you can text us on 07624 566 261, and I will pick that up and we will add it into our conversation if we can. Now, let me introduce our guest that is joining me at the table this evening. Rosalind, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Joining me, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name's Rosalind. I moved to the Isle of Man for work in the year 2000. I still work in music education. So now I have lived longer on the Isle of Man than I did in Scotland, where I was brought up.
Where in Scotland?
Perthshire, in a small town called Auchterarder.
Oh, great.
Do you want to try and say it, Emma?
No. I'm
okay.
good. Thanks. Say it again.
Auchterarder.
No, I would just be offensive, I think, if I was going to say that. Go on, crack
We'll maybe
on.
just leave it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, and I met my husband over here, so I'm married, and we have a son.
Yeah, to think about that.
I did have to think about that, but no, there is one of them at home.
Good, great, good. So last month, we looked at being surrounded by the right people. And so tonight, we're going to talk about being the right type of person that you should want to surround yourself with. So we're going to look at character, what it is, and then even kind of what that means as well, and how that plays out in everyday life. But before we dive into that, I just want to look at a couple of verses from the Bible that talk about character. So I'm going to start in 1 Samuel, which is in the Old Testament, quite early on in the Bible. So I'm going to start in 1 Samuel chapter 16, and it says, "But the Lord said to Samuel, 'Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart.'" Now, this isn't a slight on people taking care of their appearance. I, too, have my own skincare routine. So it's not that it is a problem. But the text reads, "Do not consider his appearance or his height." So it's not suggesting that looking after your external appearance is a problem. It is just suggesting that this isn't something that should be focused on, that the focus should be much deeper than that, something that is within us. And so character is clearly important to God. He's less bothered by my face and what that looks like. What he's bothered by, what he's concerned with, is my heart, and what is going on in my heart and what is going on in me internally. And then we have in the New Testament, in Hebrews chapter 4, so in the second half, after Jesus has lived and breathed and walked on the earth, died, and then resurrected and got back to heaven. So after all of that, in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12, we have, "For the word of God is," no, that's not what we have. That's not at all. I'm not in the right thing. Let me read it from here, actually. It is. Welcome to Sunday Live, folks. That is the right verse. So, for the word of God is alive and active, sharper than a double-edged sword. It penetrates even to dividing soul and spirit, joints and marrow. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. Nothing in all creation is hidden from God's sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of him to whom we must give account. So nothing is hidden from God. We're completely exposed to him, really. But this shouldn't scare us. This isn't like a God who is looking down on us, ready to trip us up or catch us out. I think all it is saying is that it really matters to God what we're like. He is our Father, and he wants the best for us. Having a rubbish character, it isn't good for us. It isn't good for the people around us. And God knows that. God wants us to have these full and thriving lives, and who we are as people is vital to that happening. So let's start our conversation. Let's start by defining what is character. What are we talking about when we talk about character?
So when I first knew that this was what we were going to be discussing, the one thing that I needed to define myself was the difference, what personality is and what character is. Mm-hmm. Because you can have a really good character, but it might look completely different from someone else's personality.
Yeah.
So I think when we're talking about character, how you react to things, how you truly are.
Yeah.
So the easiest way to define it is what makes a good character.
Yeah.
You want to be friends with people who are truthful,
Yep.
honest, patient, have integrity,
Humble.
humble. See, humble, I don't think that's a very fashionable word, though, is it? Humble.
Humble.
But you don't like being around people who are full of themselves, basically.
No, arrogance isn't.
Is not a-
it's
is
not
not-
a good
Yeah.
characteristic.
But I
is
don't
it?
know that people would go around saying, I want to be humble,
No, that is true.
but you don't want to be arrogant.
No, that is true. That is
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah.
Anything else? I mean, you've got like loving, you've got kind in all of there, haven't you? As character, someone who's kind, someone who's caring and loving.
Yeah, is
Those
is
types
really
of
important.
things?
Yes, definitely.
Anything else you want to throw into the ring on what
Um,
is character? What are we talking about when we talk about good character?
It's what you think about when you think of somebody you just want to be around, really.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry, were you
Go
gonna
on.
say something?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, so is good character the same in everyone?
I think the essence of it, yes, is because, like I was saying about personality. Okay, so one person, their personality might be loud and brash. Someone else might be quieter and more inward looking.
Yeah.
But if they're kind, in both cases, that's good character.
Yeah.
If they're honest, you're going to want to be around them.
Yes, good character in one person isn't honesty in one and dishonesty in the other.
No, it just shows up in different ways, I suppose.
Yeah, so the expression of our character might differ and might change, but the essence, as you put it, is the same. So those people, if you have a good character, you're honest, you're kind, you're integral, you're patient.
Yeah.
All of those things that we were talking about. It's the same regardless of who you are.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely say so.
Okay, so when we're talking about good character, I think sometimes it can be encouraging to look at others and think, oh, I want to be like that. I admire that characteristic in them. So I guess what sort of things do you personally aspire to be like? You know, if you're looking at someone else, like you're saying, and you're going, oh, actually, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
What do you aspire
Okay.
to?
So I don't know if this just sums up me, but I more automatically switch to knowing exactly what I don't want to be like.
Yep.
rather than. I mean, there will be people and things that I'll, admire and stuff. But I think it's much. Maybe it's just my experience that I know I don't want to be like. One of the things is I don't want my moods and my negativity to rule other people.
Okay.
From circumstances that I've been in before, those people that.
Yeah. Were you kind of guessing what sort of version has shown up with them today? Do I want to approach them, or shall I just wait?
Will I just hide over here? Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be one of those people. So I would want to always be quite level and quite the same. I don't think I manage that, but that would be... But that would be, I don't want people to be, scared of what mood I'm in that day, really.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to be someone that people thought would be talking behind their backs.
Yeah.
I think that would be very difficult. I would like to be thought of as honest. I would like to be honest as well, not just thought of as honest.
Actually be that. Yeah, let's not pretend to be honest. Yeah. Let's actually be honest. Yeah,
exactly. So I think it's more... I've probably reacted to more, and things that I've worked on myself have been more a rejection of what I don't want to be like than what I do want to be like. Although I have hugely admired people who have a lot of resilience and can just keep pushing on.
Yeah.
That's one thing where I've sort of thought, oh yeah, I really actually want that.
The resilience of people.
Yes. Not just sit down and give up.
Yeah. Good. Anything else?
Nothing I can think of at the moment.
No.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you get to those things? So this is what you aspire or don't aspire to be like. How do you get those things? So you touched on that a little bit when you were just talking, but how do you get there?
How do you get there? I think with all things like this, they're probably well-ingrained bad habits.
Okay.
I would think, like being bad-tempered.
Yeah.
Something goes wrong, you explode.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might be something that I've struggled with in the past.
Do you think that's a characteristic or a personality trait, being a little bit hot-headed, though? Because the flip side of being hot-headed is, for some people, being really overtly passionate.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so there's like a, so there's like a not counter, but I don't know, like the other side to the, I mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm just wondering whether is being, what did you say, hot-headed? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think
is that a characteristic, or is it a personality? Or both?
Or both.
Or both. I don't know. I was just thinking, because I was like, and I think, and I get, maybe actually this is a little bit of self-preservation for me, in that sometimes, I would say less so now, the older I get, but certainly when I was younger, I used to be really, really hot-headed, but I'm also a really, like, loud, overtly passionate person. If I'm passionate about something, generally speaking, because it is not just my words, it's like a whole body thing going on for me when I'm passionate, which also means if I'm getting frustrated, angry, or annoyed, it's like a whole body thing going on as well.
Yeah.
Like I am full of the emotion with that. But maybe that is a characteristic and not a good one, actually, for me. To be hot-headed.
Do you know what that you've just reminded me of, though, is Jesus in the temple.
Yeah.
So
he gets really angry.
He gets really angry and
throws all the tables.
But it was righteous anger.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that all my anger of the past has been righteous.
Okay, so there's
it's the balance of when you use it. Yeah, when you are passionate and use it in a certain way, and when you are just not being controlled, I suppose. Yeah. And just lashing out maybe sometimes as a self-preservation thing.
Yeah,
I think self-preservation, I think, might be a theme coming up in, in here.
I think so. So anything else on like that you can do to help you become what you're aspiring to be?
Well, I think, as I say, bad habits, like people, I'm hoping this has never been me.
Yeah.
But people who would just lie without realising it,
Yeah.
that's a big habit
Yeah.
to get out of. And that just, you know, I think with lots of these sorts of things, you've got to, you've just got to keep trying and
Yeah.
not get too beaten down when it doesn't work, because it's not gonna work straight away. Like my hot temper, you know, it's you've got, sometimes you are still gonna flare, and it might not always be bad.
Yeah,
I'm glad you pointed that out to me, Emma. but quite often it could be. So I think just keeping trying and sticking with it, and just not getting too down on yourself when you do slip back again.
And so I think a whole lot of this is kind of rooted in self-awareness, really, isn't it? Like, you have to have, in fact, I was going to say an element of self-awareness, but actually as people, we need to be self-aware. Like, you don't just become what you aspire to be like with no or minimal effort, because you have to know what you are currently like. You have to be aware of your triumphs, and you have to be aware of your shortcomings. You know, recently we were watching Traitors. So the latest season of Traitors, and I really love a good Traitors. Anyway, and on there was this particular game. I'm not giving, if you haven't seen it, there's no spoilers here. They were playing a game, and it was, the traitors were asked questions in the turret of, like, who do you think is the leader of the pack? And they would put names to all of these questions, and then later on in a challenge to win money for the prize pot, they were playing, it wasn't like chess at all, really, but the question would get asked, and then they had to put forward who they think the traitors answered for this question. And there was one particular question where it was about being two-faced. Who in the group is two-faced, or something to that effect? And they were talking about it, and there was one person who was absolutely mortified at the fact that they might be considered as two-faced, and was really quite aggravated about it. Well, they were actually the answer. And I wonder if they watched themselves back on Traitors, they would realise how two-faced they actually were, because, I mean, the traitors were spot on. It's who we would have picked as being two-faced. And then there was another question about who is irrelevant. And there was a person stood, and they were saying, oh, actually, I think I'm that, because I say a lot of things and I'm nearly always wrong. And then they ended up going for a different answer, and they got it wrong. And it was the woman who said, I'm irrelevant. And it was really interesting to watch these two people, both having what is perceived as negative qualities, being, well, two-faced is a negative quality, and being irrelevant. And one of them was like, yeah, I'm okay to admit that I'm irrelevant. And someone else was, I mean, two-faced, that's quite a harsh reflection, isn't it? To be called two-faced, but she was totally oblivious to it. And it got me thinking, knowing when we're going to talk about character, that actually self-awareness is a huge, huge part of this conversation, because yes, our character plays out differently, but if you're not self-aware, then how do you ever grow to be who you want to be, or what you want to be like? And how do you ever change anything about yourself if you can't even recognize the good and the bad in it? And I think that's sometimes where other people need to come into it. Mm-hmm. Like going to other people and asking them to point things out in you.
You're all right, I might pass on that.
Because I think as a culture, as a society, we like to be self-aware, but in reality, ignorance is bliss. And we don't really like it. But I think it's vital.
And the self-awareness thing, we might want to be self-aware, but I think there's a difference between us being self-aware and admitting that to anybody else.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know?
Yeah.
That's, you know, you can sort of admit it to yourself possibly, but think it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But if somebody actually calls you on it, ooh.
Yeah, that's an uncomfortable situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can we? I wonder, that's a question, isn't it? That So if you feel like this person, knowing that have made the discovery that they might be considered two-faced, that has got to be a lot of inward reflection for that person, right?
I wonder. I mean, some people just roll with that. That's what they do. Some people seem to me, enjoy making trouble, would do it on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this person was saying she wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
Was she really not aware of it then? I don't
Was
she lying to herself? Was she being two-faced to herself?
Let's dissect the workings of traitors, shall we?
I do wonder that.
Yeah. It is really interesting though, isn't it? Because I think there are times when it takes close, trusted people, like we were talking about last month, about being surrounded by the right people, trusting someone to say, actually, do you know that you're actually hot-headed?
Yeah.
Or sometimes we don't know when to approach you because we can't tell what mood you're in. And there is a really lovely version of you, but there's also a really scary version of you. And sometimes the only way we know that is by having really loving people around us who are going to have that, let's face it, ridiculously uncomfortable conversation with you. But it's either that or it's completely down to, I'll just have to figure it out for myself.
Yeah.
That's hard though, isn't it?
It is hard. Yeah. And are you saying figure it out for myself as in trying to figure out your character? Because I'm wondering as well from if you've got such a good friend who will actually challenge you on something, well, this might actually be a deal breaker for them.
Yeah.
If you keep doing this, I don't know if I can stay this close to you.
Yeah.
I wonder.
But self-awareness is a huge part of that is admitting our shortcomings, isn't it? And that's not fun.
No, that is not fun.
Like, it's not also what our society, our culture, anyone around us would be, hey, admit where you fall short of the mark. Like, who wants to do that? That's not good, is it?
Well, and if you did it too much, you'd never get a job because, you've got to interview well, haven't you?
Yeah, that is true. That's true. Although someone once said to me, if you ever interview for a job and they ask you what your weakness is, tell them that you work too hard.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like, who doesn't see through that? I'm weak because I work so hard.
Perfectionism's the other one that I've been. Yeah, I'm a perfectionist. That's me.
You're just spouting. Should we look at the Bible again?
Yeah, all right then.
Let's look at the Bible. Okay, so Paul, the writer of Colossians, and so that's in the New Testament again, he is writing to the church there, and he kind of sets out a clear level of expectations for us to live by. So in Colossians chapter 3, it says, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility," is that word again, "gentleness and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity." So it's quite the list. I'm assuming you have all of those down. Compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience, forgiveness,
no.
and love.
No.
Perfection. No.
Aspiring on all fronts.
Aspiring.
Yeah, I think that is, and I think we're never perfect, are we? Until we get to heaven. So we're always aspiring.
Yes.
So yeah, I think probably one of the hardest things for me in a list like that is that you don't just absolutely beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
Going, compassion, nope. Kindness, not today. It's the thing, and I love the fact that it says we've got to clothe ourselves with it. So actually, we haven't already got it.
Yes.
You've actually got to pull it on.
Yes.
So therefore, God is giving you a tool
it's
to
not
do
natural.
this. It's not natural. It's not
in our skin.
Yeah. So it's that you're trying to put those things on. But, you know, obviously when you get up in the morning, you've got to remember to put them on, keep them on, use them.
Yes. Which also means it's a choice.
Yes.
It's a choice. They're not just going to flow out of us. There's a there's a definite choice to say, actually, I need to choose to put these on. Mm-hmm. That's really interesting observation.
But it's just occurred to me that the more you put them, like with your own clothes, the more that you put them on, I mean, I would never go out without my underwear on. Do you know, I just wouldn't.
I'm so thankful for that information. Yeah.
Whereas it has been known for some small children to forget that aspect of getting dressed, but that's because they're not very practiced at it. Does this mean the more...
Oh, good.
The more you practice it, the better you get at it.
Gold dust.
I'm really
Rosalind.
hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like the...
Yeah. I mean, he's used the analogy of clothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of getting yourself dressed. So, why not? Why not? And there will be some things that will come more naturally to you as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
there will be things that are easier for you to put on.
Yeah, I'm still struggling on this list, actually. Yeah, it is a tough one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But you do have to actually want them. And that's like a true desire for them as well. Not just to be like, oh, I'll give kindness a go today and we'll just see how that goes. It's got to be a really purposeful, intentional, definite thing to go, you know what, I know this is maybe a shortcoming for me, so I'm gonna really consciously put it on.
Put it on and leave it on.
Yes. So how do you do that? How do you consciously choose to put it on, and then enable yourself to, I was going to say give it a good attempt, but that makes it sound like it's all dependent on us.
Which it absolutely is not.
Yeah.
Which makes me want to talk about the fruit of the Spirit now, actually.
Go on now. Do you want it in the Bible?
Yeah,
Do you
go
want
on.
to read it? Oh no, I had this dilemma earlier where I couldn't find anything I wanted in the Bible, wasn't it? I mean, I know it's in Galatians. Before people start texting in saying I don't know where things are in the Bible, I'm just not going to be able to find Galatians, am I? We're at Ephesians. So this is where my tech team's going to come and hand it to me because I'm being too slow.
I could just read it from the iPad. Or if I just let out the secret.
Yeah, I can't find Galatians in here. It is. I know it's after, thank you, I'm at Ephesians. So is it before Ephesians? Yes, it is. It's before Ephesians. So Galatians chapter 5, verses 22. Do you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
You go for it, Emma.
Okay,
I'm so pleased you found it.
But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance or patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. What do you want to say about that?
Well, what I want to say about that is that is the fruit of the Spirit.
Yes.
So if you've given your life to Jesus, you've got those. Now, whether they're actually just seeds which aren't really evident as yet, or whether they are sprouting or being fruity, is depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
But we've got them. We've got the starts of them
From the Spirit.
from the Spirit.
Yeah.
Which, if you've got those things,
Yeah.
then that is going to make being kind more easy.
Yeah.
And being kind, being humble. I've thought about these quite a lot in the past, and the thing that has struck me is that if you've got the first three, if you've got the love, joy, and peace, I think you're sorted.
So the rest of the list is irrelevant.
Well, I think if you
No. The rest of the list
sorry,
is irrelevant.
that was the wrong answer. Yeah, okay. But it totally is. If you truly, have love, have joy, and have peace, then you're going to be patient. It's going to let you be kind. There's going to be goodness there. Faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, they're all more possible if you have love, joy, and peace.
Yeah.
Because if you have love for yourself and others and peace in your spirit, that just helps you so much more relate to the rest of the world, doesn't it? And that's what a lot of this is about, is just relating to everybody else well.
Yeah.
And you can't really do that if you're not at peace and loving yourself the way God would want you to love yourself. And the joy helps as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really love in what you're saying that actually it's not dependent on us, because these are the fruit of the Spirit. So we have that is who is enabling us. The Spirit of God is helping us. He's not doing it for us, because we still have to make the choices to put on, to quote the other scripture, to clothe ourselves in those things. But he helps us with that, with that journey, right? And so I would say on a really practical level, whether it's from the Colossians passage or the Galatians one, pick one. Like if you're looking at this list and going, oh, I'm not very patient, not very gentle, not very kind. Like if you're now starting to think the self-awareness is coming, don't look at all of those things and be like, okay, well, tomorrow, Monday, I'm going to be more kind, I'm going to be more loving, I'm going to be patient, it's going to happen. I think you're probably going to set yourself up to fail if you do it that way. Yeah. And I think God isn't interested in us being perfection and having all of these things nailed and sorted and done. He just wants us to be making progress, right? So I would pick one, just one, and be like, okay, I am going to pray, I'm going to talk to God, I'm going to try and be this thing more. I'm going to try and increase this thing in my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would go further than that, though.
Okay, go on.
I would, well, for me, myself, so yes, I've been a committed Christian for a lot of years, and quite often my shortcomings in these areas, they would be pointed out. If I was praying, I might just start to feel a niggle about something, and think, okay, that wasn't kind, or I need to do whatever more. But I think I've also really benefited from listening more to what God says to me. In the case of, like, sometimes I could be absolutely beating myself up about something. Yeah. Which actually wasn't a thing. I had one very clear experience where I really thought, oh, this is terrible. How am I going to fix this? And when I actually came to the point where I thought God was going to deal with me on it, he said, no, you're fine. You were right.
Wow.
So I think it's being very careful that you don't fall into the self-improvement pit that you can't actually crawl out of.
Yes. Yeah.
As well. So that's the forgiving yourself when you do fall down. Yeah. Yeah. And not ever expecting perfection as well.
So so you talk about that God might like give you a niggle about something in a, Rosalind, that wasn't very kind. That, and some people be like, that's just your conscience talking.
Yeah.
Is it, or is it God? And how do you know it's God? Or when he says something like, actually, you're beating yourself up, but that is a non-issue for me. Like when God's saying that type of thing, how do you know it's not just you letting you off the hook, or you going, oh yeah, it's my conscience is, I need to be a little bit more kind. Like, how do you know it's God?
That's really funny. I've just always, since I've become conscious of that, I've just accepted it. Yeah. So it's a completely in a different context, that is the way that I would probably prove it, is to other people. So God most often, I would say, talks to me when I'm walking or when I'm cycling or something like that, something physical. And I kind of have got used to the pattern of, if I set off on a walk, this might be a time when God might say something to me. Not always, by any stretch of the imagination, but I know this is a time when he deals with me with things, and I talk to him as well. And the thing that strikes me that is proof that it's not just my conscience is an example I'm sure I've given you before of when some opportunities were coming up for me, and I was struggling that they were going to take me out of home more often, and I wasn't going to be able to be quite as dedicated to being a wife and mother as I was before. God just dropped a scripture into me to say, no, actually, this is the way you should be going. I want you to broaden what you're doing. But at that point, actually, I've told the story wrong. He dropped that scripture in before the opportunities came up. So about an hour later, I got a phone call about the first opportunity. And then the week later, when I was putting in my paperwork about that opportunity, I also found another opportunity. And it went on from there. But at that point, I didn't know anything was going to actually change. So actually, I didn't know. I wasn't talking to him about that because it hadn't happened yet. He just dropped that in on me.
And is it like just an impression internally? Just like a thought process that's kind of... I'm just thinking, if someone is listening and they have never had God speak to them... And to be clear, everyone's experience is different. So how God might speak to me could be completely different to you. So it's not like one size fits all.
Definitely.
Within that. So is it like I just got this feeling that is not a normal feeling for me to have?
That was a definite... It was a Bible verse just popped into my head out of nowhere. That I was being given that day. Sometimes it would be, for me, if I'm trying to make a decision and I really, really want to do something, but I can't get peace about it. That would be a red flag to me. That actually it doesn't matter how much you want to do that. I'm not giving you peace about it. So don't do it. Or if you do, it's your own fault.
Just to go back to something that you said, that it's normally when you're cycling or going for a walk or something like that, and you use the phrase, and God deals with me. No, it's totally okay, because I know what you mean, but maybe not everyone does know what you mean when you say God deals with me, because that kind of sounds like a grown-up wagging their finger at you, getting ready to tell you off. So is it like God is like full force, Rosalind, I'm dealing with you? Or is it different from that?
No, it is not that. It would all, it's probably a bad way to put it. But
no, it's not. It's just your language and it's fine. But I know sometimes it feels like that's a bit of a, like your dad will deal with that in the morning. Feels like a bit of a negative phrase if you've never heard it in context to God.
No, so that would be more, it would be a lot more gentle. It would be, nudging in the right direction, probably feeling peace over decisions that I'm making, or, a much nicer experience than your dad will speak to you when he gets home, sort of thing.
Yes. I love my dad to do. It wasn't an impression of him. It really wasn't an impression of him. Okay, so I'm just wondering then, if we go to, let's pick either the Colossians or the Galatians passage.
Ooh. Choices.
Yeah, so we have been saying to people that, pick one and work on it. Should we do that?
Maybe.
If we go live, we'll go, which one? Like, and I mean, you don't have to. I'm just thinking about like the vulnerability for us to sit here and go, and to be able to talk about this, but also for us both to go, we're not perfect. We're not sorted. And actually, what in this list might God be saying, I need this from you now.
I have had slight hints from others
Really?
that I might not be too hot on compassion.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so actually fully appreciating somebody else's feelings about something
Yeah.
that wouldn't bother me.
Yeah.
You know, doing a bit of a get on with it, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't always fully understand. Well,
Yes.
do any of us? There we go. There's
Yeah.
my excuse. I've laid it out right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is an area I could do with developing, and you know, like sometimes someone asks, well, what do you think that'll make them feel like? I haven't got a clue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so
Good.
there we go.
Yeah. So compassion.
Let's see. We don't have to come back in 6 months to check this, do we?
No, well, I mean, I'll be back next month, so maybe people will check up on me, but not you. You'll be fine. You're off
No,
the
I'll be
hook.
all right. A month with what's on this list, though, might be pushing it.
Well, yeah, that is true. That is true. Okay, mine. I might as well. And then if someone remembers, they can ask me how well I've got on with doing this next month. You know what? Actually, when I was looking at some of the scriptures some of the Bible verses that we were going to use in our discussion this evening, and it was from the Colossians one, and it was a little bit, God was very gentle, but like it was, when I read the word, it was like my heart did a little bit of a thump. It did a little bit of a thump, and it's a really uncomfortable one because I didn't think I was bad. I lacked self-awareness, obviously, in this. So I actually think the one that I need to work on is kindness.
So we're a great pair,
We're not
aren't we?
compassionate, we're not kind. What a load of rubbish. But kindness, and I was thinking about this, I'm not unkind with my words. Like, I know I'm not, and I know I'm not unkind with my words, but it was really clear that actually, and I think this is true if I am going through a rough time, or if I'm finding life a little bit hard, then I'm really judgy in my head with people. Like, a little bit like you, I'll look at someone and I'll be like, oh my goodness, grow up.
Get over it.
Get on with yourself. Like, stop. And it's lacking in compassion. There you go. So it's 2 for me, isn't it, really? It's lacking in compassion, and it's really unkind.
You can have mine if you want.
Thanks. You're off the hook. I'll take them both. But it was just this impression that actually and it is especially true if I am finding things difficult in my own life, or if life is just feeling a little bit tough, then my brain goes into judgy mode, and I'll just, not verbally, I think I'm really careful to not speak every one of my thoughts out loud. Praise the Lord. It would get me in a lot of trouble, wouldn't it?
It would get everyone in a lot of trouble, surely.
Yeah, but I know I can be really, really judgy in my thoughts. It's just unkind to behave like that. So I think that would be mine.
Do you know what? I find this really interesting because obviously mine must be obvious to at least one person who has mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
Whereas yours,
no one knows.
No one knows. God's given you the tap on the shoulder, and now you've
aired it. Congratulations to me for doing that.
But it totally points out that God is interested.
Yes.
In us, and not the outer picture.
Yeah, and he'll do it in different ways as well. If he wants you to know something, he'll do it in different ways. So for you, he used someone else.
Yeah.
To highlight it. For me, he
just went
straight to the core with me and went, Emma, sort yourself out. You've been unkind. It's really interesting though, isn't it? That actually we're not there. And I also think it's interesting that my one links in with yours. And one could argue, well, we're not being very gentle or patient with people. We're certainly not being humble. We're being quite arrogant. Like, do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, that whole list has blurred into one. And it's not that we need to work on all of them, but it shows how integrated, interconnected lots of these things are, which comes back to what you were saying about your love, joy, and peace.
Yeah. Yeah, but you nearly, when you were saying, so we're lacking all of these,
Yeah.
I was nearly, in a shame spiral there. We've got to forgive ourselves.
We do.
We do.
We do.
We can move forward.
Should we move on with that conversation so we're not spiraling live?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin to draw our conversation and to a close then. People are watching, and if they don't yet have a relationship with God, they haven't decided to become a Christian yet, they don't know him personally, what on earth has this conversation got to do with them? Why should any of this matter to them?
I don't think anybody truly wants to be friends with someone who's arrogant, two-faced,
Unkind,
judgy. I mean, it doesn't. We all do. As much as we think, society just looks at the outside person. It actually doesn't matter if your best friend looks gorgeous or not. If they're judgy, unkind, etc. You're just not going to want to spend time with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. We want to be our best for other people. For our friends, but maybe for a life partner, maybe for your children, and developing integrity can never be a bad thing. I would say. No matter what your personality's like. Those real central things are the same for everyone. And if you are whatever that's not attractive, that makes life hard for people around you.
Yeah, that's really, really good. It's great for us to consider both sides of those things, that actually regardless of where you sit, regardless of what you believe, good character is good character.
Yeah, definitely.
And, last month we talked about surrounding ourselves with the right type of people. And I would genuinely be devastated, I think, if I was to become a person that people didn't want to be around. Because I wasn't a person of good character. I wasn't a person who reflected who I say I am. I wasn't a kind, do you know what I mean? I wasn't a kind person, I wasn't loving. I didn't look out for people, I wasn't generous. All of those things, I think, I would be devastated, I think, if I had that realization one way or the other, that actually people don't want to be associated with me. Because good character is good character regardless of what you believe, isn't it? And so much for us as Christians in the place that we sit, we have the example of Jesus that we get to read about in the Bible, and we have his example that can help us. And we talked about ever so briefly when Jesus is in a bit of a rage in the temple when he flips over the tables at what was going on in the temple and what they had turned it into, and it was this righteous anger, and so it's not that there are always good and bad traits. Anger can be we see it as a negative thing, but actually it can be a good thing used in the right way with the right motivations and expressed in the right way as well. Blind rage, I would say, is never good in that. But we have the example of Jesus, and for us, we get to ask God for help. We're not doing this journey on our own. You talked about it when we were talking about the fruit of the Spirit, that actually we have the Spirit of God, and often this doesn't mean that he's going to miraculously make us more kind or more loving. The chances are what it does mean is that he'll give us the opportunity to be more kind, more loving, more patient, more joyful, more at peace. He'll give us the opportunity to step into those things and behave in that way. But we have the Spirit of God that can help us, because when we decide and when we make the decision to give our lives to Jesus, then we are asking for the Holy Spirit to come and live inside of us. We are asking him to come and be in us, to give us strength, to help us with stamina, to be our encourager with how we live our lives. We have the access to the power of God. And God is never there to scold us when we fall short. He is there to love us and help us try again, which is what we were talking about in our conversation. It is about forgiving yourself. It's not about destroying yourself because you've messed up. Actually, for me, because I have chosen to have a relationship with God, it means that I get to come to him and I get to ask for forgiveness for when I have messed up. But I also get to say, God, I can't do this on my own. I need your help. Because actually, I'm not always going to be naturally kind or naturally loving, because it can be really, really hard to do those things. And so that's what we have access to. We have access to the power of God and to the Holy Spirit when we choose to give our lives to him. And if you want to explore what it means to have a relationship with God, then we would love to hear from you. You can get in touch with us on that number, 07624 566 261, and a member of the team would get back to you. And we have like a devotional, and we have Bibles. We're a church. We have plenty of Bibles. We can give you any of this stuff that will help you in your journey. And we would give it to you completely free, no strings attached, not, well, you need to come to church in order to get these. No, none of that. We would just love to help you either discover who God is or continue on that journey of figuring out who you are, who he is, how those things come together. And those things should help you do that. So we would love to send that to you. So you can get in touch with us on that number and we will find a way to get that to you. Excellent. This is all we have time for on Sunday Live. So we will be back next month on the 2nd of March at 7:30 on where you're watching us now on our YouTube channel, BBC IOM. So do join us for that. Thank you very much to Rosalind for sharing your thoughts and your experience with us, your wisdom that was clearly there. It was there, I promise you. And thank you to you for joining us in the conversation, for joining us online and being with us this evening. I hope you have a wonderful February, and we will see you again next month on Sunday Live. Good night and God bless.